Hi and welcome to another episode, and what we've got here is the Sinclair 128K ZX Spectrum Plus 2 Grey Edition, basically the first version of the Plus 2. Now, you might remember from a previous episode, I bought a stereo enhancement for the ZX Spectrum 128K Plus 2, Plus 2A, Plus 2B, Plus 3, and it's made by Byte Delight, and you can go off to bytedelight.com and purchase one yourself. Now let's just zoom into their little manual, or flyover manual. Not sponsored by them either, but they did send the gadget out after a week. Now, they recommend that you mess around soldering it and everything that you've got to, but then put the jack, there we go, that jack, into the side of the case at the back next to the mono port. Fine, I understand why, but I personally don't like that idea. I'd rather have a stereo jack and forget the mono one, because why would I use it again now that I've put this adapter in? It's not as if it can't be reversed. Well, maybe it can't actually, because I'm going to super glue it in, but using some Gorilla Glue, and the only reason I'm using that is because it's got a spout and a little brush, which you'll see later on. But so yes, I'm going to mess around doing that, so let's get on with it. So I've zoomed in a bit and we can see we've got the white, we've got the brown, and just around the other side we've got the bit that's not covered up, which is the earth. So we've got earth, left and right. So let's get this desoldered so that we have some nice wires to play around with. Onto the brown wire. There we go. Spin things round again. And this is where the socket should just come away. In fact, let's just apply some heat here. This might take a bit longer because this is the earth one. There's a lot more sort of metals and things involved. I've got to warm up. That means that there's a hole involved. What I might actually do here is add a bit more solder. There we go. Okay, so I've put a bit of flux on. I'm going to desolder these points now. So, desoldered the socket, learnt a thing or two, and I'm going to put the stereo socket here. Now, obviously I haven't got the pins to match up. What I need to do is super glue it down, but first I'm going to solder the wires in the correct place to the pins. So let's do that. Sometimes I guess it doesn't always come down to having fancy tools. Let's just pin it sort of in place here. There we go. I'll bend the left and right in the correct place. Maybe a bit of tweezers. On the centre pins, touching any of the earth, I'll make sure that's in place. And have to readjust that. that way. That's better. It's not going to touch. The centre pins aren't going to touch the earth wires now. This is actually quite hot to the touch. There we go. That's there, I think. Is that a good connection? I sure hope so. As you can see, the white one's flared off a bit. The heat shrink, but it looks like I've got a decent connection, and all I can do now is test it. And I will not glue it down until I'm 100% sure everything's working. So let's move all this junk out of the way. Okay, a bit of a jump cut. Quite a bit of a jump cut, sadly. I was testing the audio and then I forgot to flick the switches back so that my computer records the audio to what I'm recording. Silly me. Basically, it works. I've typed in the little program that's on the back of the instructions. I've put some of the fancy tape underneath the motherboard so that any super glue, if it falls down the back in between the holes of the port that was there before, it's not going to affect anything. I've super glued it down using the brush from Gorilla Glue because you got a lot more control. I'll just show you this particular type, because with this you get a nozzle, or you get a little brush, which makes it easier to paint said areas. So, not the fact I'm particularly pushing Gorilla Glue, it's just they do a nice little combo thing like that. And then I've used the jack to be inside the port so that I've got some control of where it's going, and I've held it in place for 45 seconds like it says in the instructions, and then I've put some more of the tape over the top to make sure if the wires do decide to come off for whatever reason, they're not going to start flailing around inside the motherboard. So the port is nice now. See, it's not moving at all. Well, you can see, well, the board's flexing a bit because I've not got all the screws in, but the port itself is staying still, and that's even just this past 20 minutes or whatever I've been talking to myself because I didn't set the thing properly. But I've tested the sound yet again. It works fine the way it is right now, so that's great. I'm going to mess around with my SCART cable and put a stereo jack on here, so it means opening this up and all that fun stuff. And I'm fully aware that the makers of this particular RGB cable will make it that I've lost my well, little bit of a warranty sort of thing of, you know, through testing. So if I mess that up, that's me who's messed it up, because that cable works great. All these cables work great. Now, the other side of it that I want to point out is obviously I need to squeeze this cable down a bit and stuff, so it might mean pushing some caps down and things to level it all up so that the keyboard can plug in. I already know it can, but you know, just to make sure. But all in all, it's working fine. I think with this, fixing the +2 grey series is now finally over. I have got the GAL chip. Here is the HAL chip. I'm getting it replaced with a GAL chip. But I'm not going to show you that because there's no real point. If you can replace a memory chip and, you know, put in a socket and stick that, you can do that. I'll put a link down below of where to find some sellers. I'm getting mine from a guy on eBay, but sadly it's not arrived time this particular video has been done. The only other thing that I'm getting is I've managed to find some keycaps for the tape deck. If I do a quick show of that, as you know, mine are a bit greyed out because of so much use. These other ones have hardly been used, so it's just a matter of popping them off. Look at previous episodes of where I've cleaned them and everything, and you'll see how to do that. be careful of the little capture thing that holds it in place so that it doesn't go bidding, because it did for me. Apart from that, I think it's about time I start asking you to subscribe, like, become a Patreon, share with everybody in the world, rewatch the whole series, watch everything that I've got in the back. I really hope this has been an informative little series. I know it's gone on and other people have done things in one episode, and some have done it in a few episodes, but for me it's kept it a little bit together of what it is. Granted, a few a little bit out of the order on what I wanted to do, but I digress. As always, happy gaming.